Okay, now we're going to start conic sections. This chapter from the ND perspective is very, very important. The thing with this chapter is that you're going to get pretty easy MCQs, but if you don't know like the core concept, तो आपको बिल्कुल समझ नहीं आएगा कि MCQ में आपसे मांगा करके. So अब हम ये करेंगे कि हम हर जो इसमें टॉपिक है सर्कल, एलिप्स, पैराबोला, हाइपरबोला, हम इसको इंडिविजुअली देखेंगे, उनकी इक्वेशंस देखेंगे, उनके आइडेंटिफायर्स देखेंगे, and that's how we're going to move through this course. Okay, so we have conic sections का main concept, which is कि अगर हम दो cones को, a cone is by the way a 3D cylinder with a round base and a pointed top, उनको अगर हम top to top join करते हैं vertically, so we can cut them in different ways to get different shapes. Now in the case of a circle, which is our first conic section, if we draw a completely horizontal plane that cuts these cones at any point, we get a circle. From the definition, we can see that a circle consists of points which are equidistant from a fixed point. This fixed point is the center of the circle, and all the points that compose the circle are equidistant from it. Okay, so now we have the standard equation of a circle. It is x minus h ka whole square plus y minus k ka whole square equal r square. Here r is the radius of the circle, and the x and y in our case are just normal variables that we don't have to put a value for, and h and k will tell us how far away the circle is from the origin. Now the general equation for this is x square plus y square plus 2gx plus 2fy plus c equals to 0. So looking at this equation, we can see that there are two identifiers of a circle. First of all, both the variables x and y should have the same degree and a coefficient of 1. And then the second second condition that we have for it being a circle is that there is no xy term. There are no xy terms in the equation. Again, I repeat, there is a quadratic equation in both variables, both have the same power and the same coefficient, and there are no xy terms in the equation. From this equation, we can derive the center to be minus c minus f. The center of the circle will be minus c minus f, and in this case, the radius will be equal to g square plus f square minus c ka whole square root. So this is all the equations and the stuff you need to know about circles. Now we're going to move on to ellipse. Okay, now we have our second conic section, which is the ellipse. The ellipse can be formed by taking a diagonal plane or an inclined plane and cutting the two 3D cones with it. But the difference between an ellipse and a hyperbola is that for the ellipse, it has to only cut one of the cones, and it has to cut it throughout. So अगर मैं simplify करके आपको बताऊं according to the true definition of it, so we see that an ellipse is a set of all points whose sum of distance from both foci is constant. An ellipse has two foci. पहली बात तो ये हमने समझनी है. Two foci meaning there are 2 points in the ellipse जिनसे हम equations derive करते हैं further. So any point on the ellipse that we take whose distance from both the points, मतलब हम दोनों points से दोनों foci से हमने उसका distance लिया और उसको add किया, that distance is the constant. बाकी तमाम कोई भी point हो on the ellipse, it will have the same constant difference from the two foci. So that's the book definition of the ellipse. Now let's look at horizontal and vertical major axes ellipses. So if the ellipse is elongated on the x-axis, it is called the horizontal major axis, and if it is vertically stretched out, then it is a vertical major axis ellipse. An important thing to keep in mind is कि जो horizontal major axis है और जो vertical major axis ellipse है, उनकी equations are going to be different. So if A is greater than B in both instances, then for horizontal major axis, x square over a square plus y square over b square will be equal to 1, and for vertical major axis, x square over b square plus y square over a square will be equal to 1. तो जो भी हमारे पास major axis होता है उसके नीचे हमने a square रखना होता है. So in the first case, x is the major axis, and in the second case, y is the major axis. So the two identifiers for this conic section is that we're going to have a plus sign between both of them, x square over a square plus y square over b square. So that's the first big identifier, and the second big identifier is that both of these must have the same sign and the same coefficient. That means that the part aside from the denominator, the numerator must be equal for x square and y square, and the sign should be the same. Either it's minus minus or it's going to be plus plus. Okay, now a bit about what A, B actually are. So the thing is, jo A hai, that is the positive x-intercept of where the ellipse cuts the x-axis, And the same goes for negative a. It would be the negative x-intercept with the ellipse cuts the x-axis. This is for horizontally measured axis. In the same case, b would be the minor axis, so b would be the point, positive b and negative b respectively, would be the point at which the ellipse cuts the y-axis, positive y-axis and the negative y-axis respectively. And c in our case will be the foci. So positive c will be the foci on the right side for horizontally measured axis, and it will be the point, the foci which is on the positive y-axis for vertically measured axis, and vice versa. Okay, so now we have very important some equations for your MCQs. First of all, we have c square equal a square minus b square. टिपिकल इक्वेशन, बस इसके पीछे आपको डिटेल में जाने की जरूरत नहीं है, बस ये इक्वेशन याद करने की जरूरत है. एसेंट्रिसिटी की इक्वेशन, एसेंट्रिसिटी का कॉन्सेप्ट भी जरूरी नहीं है, बट द ओनली द इक्वेशन इज इंपॉर्टेंट. तो द इक्वेशन इज ई इक्वल्स टू स्क्वायर रूट ऑफ 1 माइनस बी स्क्वायर ओवर ए स्क्वायर. ये इक्वेशन भी आप लोगों ने याद कर लेनी है. एंड लास्टली वी कैन रिपीट कि आपको हमारे पास कि एक इसकी जो है इक्वेशन क्या है दोबारा से, एंड इट इज ए एक्स स्क्वायर प्लस बी वाई स्क्वायर इक्वल 0. यहाँ पे एक जनरल इक्वेशन आ गई. सो दैट इज इलिप्सॉइड फॉर अस. नाउ वी कैन मूव ऑन टू पैराबोला एंड हाइपरबोला.